So Avowed, the fantasy RPG game being made by the much beloved studio Obsidian that's known for such games as Fallout New Vegas and The Outer Worlds. Of course, the game was announced to be a thing a little while back by Xbox, and a lot of people are considering it a Skyrim and Elder Scrolls killer. And of course, we know that's not really the case because their launch windows are going to be so far apart, not to mention they're working for the same parent company now. But nonetheless, it's a fun conversation to have. Well, we have this article from Jez Corden on WindowsCentral.com, who has details on the Xbox exclusive Avowed, The Outer Worlds meets medieval fantasy. So getting into it, we're not going to go over the article word by word because you don't have time for that, I don't have time for that, and I don't want to take credit for all the guys' work. Instead, we're going to go through it and we're going to find the bits of information that are revealed about the much anticipated game. So the first bit of information, sources familiar with internal plans have reached out to us in recent months offering details on Avowed, moving through pre-production towards a playable alpha state. Indeed, Obsidian is likely close to having a working early version of the game with many mechanics and core gameplay pillars already implemented. I can't be sure how old some of the footage I've seen is, and there's a good chance it's far further along. So in this paragraph, we have two things. First of all, they are right now in pre-alpha, but they're getting close to getting the game into its alpha state, which is where it's a playable version, although very rough. And then the other thing we have is everything that he's seen so far, there is a possible chance that they've actually given him old footage and it's not where they're actually currently at right now, so it might be in a better state than what he's seen. And obviously we haven't seen anything from the game yet, because all we've seen is the pre-rendered CGI trailer. And right here we have him saying why the Outer Worlds fans should be pretty excited for Avowed as well, because Avowed seems to be based on a similar, albeit enhanced engine from the Outer Worlds, complete with action-oriented first-person combat and deep RPG exploration and narrative systems. We were told Avowed will feature multiple class playstyles and borrow from Skyrim's two-handed combat system. You could wield two daggers and be a stealthy rogue, or dive into archery with a two-handed bow. You could use a combination of swords and magic, or go full two-handed magic, which is required to wield some of the game's more potent spells and abilities. So what we learned from this little bit right here, the game engine's going to be the same one from the Outer Worlds, and it seems like they're borrowing heavy from like the RPG combat type of ideas that the Elder Scrolls has always been known for, more particularly Skyrim. Because the way like you'd have two hands and you could put spells or different weapons in each hand, it seems like they're basically going with that as the foundation of how the combat's going to work. And he says right here, Avowed will have many features that will be familiar to Pillars of Eternity fans, such as wizards with similar spells such as Jolting Touch people will be familiar with and all that. Just general spells. And then he also says here, weapon enchantments seem to be a big feature too, magically enchanted swords and frozen arrows as an example. Okay, so right there we kind of have a soft confirmation there will be a crafting system, because generally enchantments are part of a crafting system, a robust crafting system. Which is kind of be figured because it's an RPG, but there are some RPGs that mess that up. And he also says there might be guns such as muskets and such in the game as well. And then we have confirmation on there's going to be a lizard-like people from that universe that will be in the game as enemies, alongside deadlier threats such as wyverns and drakes. So those are like three enemy types that we know will probably be in the game. He does say on the comment, though, it seems to be more loadout based than the Elder Scrolls, which gives you mounts of spells, but then he says warriors will basically have different moves, spells, abilities, whatever you want to call them, than spellcasters will. So it looks like there's probably going to be a class-based system of like your traditional warriors, rogues, spell slingers, what have you. But it's probably going to be class-based, which is something Skyrim got away from, which a lot of fans didn't like. So it's kind of nice to see Obsidian try to return the form on that. And then right here he says, just as a Pillars of Eternity fan, like I said before, they're being very, very truthful as far as the world and all that to the source material, which is always a good thing. And he thinks that the action-oriented combat will bring in a whole host of new fans to that universe. And he says here, that at least compared to Skyrim and Oblivion, which is interesting, Avowed seems to be a far more colorful game. One thing that's weird is he does mention luminescent cave mushrooms in it, which Skyrim has. Gigantic flora, which technically Oblivion had in the DLC with the Shivering Isles. and other things. But, you know, he says it's going to be basically more colorful, which is good, because I enjoyed the way Oblivion looked, but Skyrim had a brown palette that, like, I understand that it's up north, but there were still some parts of Skyrim that had green and should have been more colorful. Pillars of Eternity does seem to take environmental interactivity a bit further than the Outer Worlds 2, complete with swimming capabilities. We've even heard of destructible environments using lit torches and fire spells to burn down blocked entryways too. Fire spells leave areas coated in flames too, which cascade over walls and floors. So we have interactivity with the environment, we have destructive environment, and we're going to be able to swim, so it's not going to be any of that BS where you fall in water and your character dies that a lot of games like to do. Yeah, then down here he just kind of reiterates it's in a pre-alpha state. What he saw might even be earlier than where it is right now, so this is far from the finished project. So once again, these are rumors, and it's a really, really early build. We haven't actually seen anything ourselves. Take this all with a grain of salt. And then he says, as for the story and layout, I can only speculate. So we know nothing about the story right now. Like, this is just a really, really early build. He says he's not sure if it'll go full-blown open world like modern Elder Scrolls games or utilize something more like the Outer Worlds hub system. But there is some evidence that it may go fully open world, though. So they put out job listings for people who are basically to work on open world stuff. There is evidence to support that it'll probably be fully open world, but given what they did with the Outer Worlds, we can't know for sure. So my thoughts on all this, I mean, Obsidian has a good track record. Now, mind you, so did CD Projekt Red before the Cyberpunk disaster. And once again, remember, this is a gaming journalist, so take their words with a grain of salt. We can't necessarily say all that. We haven't seen it. He's seen it. He's not shown us any of what he's seen. They have not shown us any of what he's seen. We have seen nothing other than a CGI trailer. But these are positive signs. So at the moment, you have reason to be hopeful. If you're an RPG fan, you have reason to be hopeful and excited. If you're an Xbox fan, you have reason to be hopeful and excited. It's okay to be hopeful and excited. Just don't get too hopeful. It looks like at the very least it'll be a good thing to hold us over until Elder Scrolls 6, which I cannot believe. You know how long it's been since Skyrim came out and we haven't gotten... Like, people talk about Grand Theft Auto. Anyways, guys, if this video was helpful for you and you enjoyed it, all I ask is you to hit the like button. This has been Solid Shepherd, and until next time, I should go.